Could you imagine this for a moment? Imagine never owning your iPhone ever again. I know that sounds crazy, right? Just like paying monthly subscriptions for Netflix, Hulu, all of the streaming services that all of us have. I mean, we all have them. And I'm going to scoot back in my seat for this one. But imagine for just a moment your iPhone on a subscription based plan. Well, today we're going to talk about that. Hi, my name is Brett with Anvil Music and Media. Thank you for joining me. I'm going to talk to you about how Apple is really close. I mean, they're really close in implementing a hardware subscription program. Probably maybe even as close as this year with the iPhone 17. I don't know if you've heard the rumors about the iPhone 17. It's being released September of this year. And it's possible there are rumors and rumblings in Apple headquarters. It could be turning into a subscription-based software bill for you, the consumer. And we're going to talk about that today. I want to just first, I want to get into the whole history, basically, of subscriptions, and I want to talk a little generally about not necessarily how subscriptions came to be, but the consumer has been just bum rushed with so many subscriptions. Like I said earlier, with Netflix, with Hulu, all of these different streaming services, and how fatigued a consumer can be because you have probably 5 to 7 different subscriptions, sometimes even more. I mean, the monthly bills on these subscriptions total in about $70 to $80 a month. Ask me how I know this. Now, with subscription fatigue, specifically with subscription fatigue, most consumers, they have this issue, and that issue is that the value that they're receiving from the subscriptions does not equal their total experience. Would you imagine for that? Now, let me talk to you about specifically even more about Verizon. Now, so I have a family plan. I have an iPhone that's on my Verizon plan. And yes, we pay Verizon a monthly payment plan. So this is already being implemented. We're paying for the iPhone stretched through a stretched period of time. We're paying monthly payments on our iPhone to pay it off. Now, some of you may have the money to pay it off fully, but I'm telling you, Apple is looking to capitalize on subscription-based services, and we're really close. Now, of course, we had a lockdown that was a couple years ago, and people just rushed online. Like everybody was online. Everybody, you, me, grandmother, everybody was online because nobody was outside. And these subscription services, or these companies that provided subscription services, began to take advantage of the consumer. And they saw that there was a market out there for consumers to just purchase countless numbers of subscriptions. And this is it has just grown ever since the lockdown. And now, of course, businesses are looking to capitalize even further. I believe Apple is on the verge of this as well. And we have to be honest. Most of these subscriptions that we have, they're non-luxury, like they're non-essential. I mean, it's something you don't need. But as a consumer, as an American, as a capitalist society, we all purchase things that we want. We purchase just because. That's another subject for another time. But I want to talk to you, firstly, I want to talk to you about the iPhone 17 and how it is rumored, aside from the camera action. I know iPhone 7 is supposed to have a camera on the front and the back, all of these features that are coming. Let me just stop you for a minute. The real feature, or it's not even a feature, the real issue that consumers could possibly have is the fact that Apple is going to possibly start charging monthly for your iPhone. So before you make that decision to purchase the iPhone 17, you want to consider this. You definitely want to consider this. Now, even when the lockdown happened for us, there was a famous a bike exercising company called Peloton. Now, Peloton rose through the ranks. I mean, their sales went through the roof as far as subscriptions. And what they specialize in was subscriptions. You would get a subscription for the bike, and you would pay on the service. And it was a big phenomenon. It was a big happening. And after everybody went back out into the world and the lockdown was no more, Peloton sales just dropped tremendously. I mean, plummeted. You can even look online. I've researched the articles on Peloton, and this is sort of like sad because I really feel like Apple is probably most likely at a crossroads to where they want to capitalize as much as they can off of the consumer, and in their capitalization of this subscription based service on hardware, they're looking to make this something that's going to be forever. I mean, you're talking about like renting an iPhone. Like you'll never be able to, you'll just be basically turning in iPhones for the rest of your life. I'm not sure how I feel about that because, the market is just so saturated already. It's just already just, saturated. So what happens with this? What are we sort of looking at with this subscription based service? Well, Apple could introduce themselves as a hardware as a service model. So the hardware would become the service, right? We have softwares that are subscription based. We have streaming services that are subscription based. Now we're talking about hardware, literally something that you touch and you feel. It's in your hand, and Apple is going to start charging for that. Not only will they be a subscription based service for hardware, you'll be paying monthly bills on your iPhone. You'll be able to, what is rumored is to have bundles. So they will bundle this service with your AppleCare, with your iCloud Plus, with Apple Music, and this can come to you as a bundle. You see how you see where this is sort of going, right? Like this is just, it's crazy. It's actually, so crazy. I'm going to slow down for a minute, but think of it as a Netflix subscription. It's going to be like Netflix, but for your phone. So, and some people may ask, well, where is this coming from? Well, if you have been reading the news, watching the news, if you've been online, you know what's going on in the market, especially in the US market today. Tariff is the key word for this week, next month. Tariffs are at an all-time, I mean, the talk is just crazy because our administration, what they're doing now is they are applying tariffs to countries outside of the US, countries like China. And guess what? China has Apple, I should say. Apple has a manufacturing, probably countless of manufacturing facilities in China. And this is affecting Apple. It's just affecting how they're going to be doing business going on in the future. So they're going to have to sort of pivot and see if they're able to take those facilities, those manufacturing facilities, and they might even possibly be moving them to countries such as India or Vietnam because of the tariffs. Like tariffs are, just tariffs are just taking over the news. It's dropping the stock market. Everything is just going crazy. People are not very happy about this. And, I'm not here to really talk about politics, but this is something that is a very serious issue. It's even taking the economy into a possible slowdown, a possible recession, which doesn't look good. So Apple this is one of probably many reasons that you could potentially have a subscription bill for your iPhone. So, we've talked about tariffs. We've talked about subscriptions and how the history of them a little bit. We've gotten into, the subscription fatigue. Now, subscription fatigue is just crazy, right? I don't even want to talk about it again, but you know how it is of being a consumer and having so many different subscriptions, like so many different streaming services that you have to pay for. And I'm gonna be honest with you, like there are many times where I turn on Netflix and I'm just flipping. I don't have my remote here, but I'm just flipping through the channel, through the next Netflix categories and I can't find anything. And there are other times that I may be able to find a B class movie or whatever to watch, and it may be better than what I can find on Hulu. But for the most part, I'm really just paying the subscription service just for the convenience of having it. It's not really, and people could argue, your iPhone, is it essential to have? You call, you make text, you're on the internet with it. Yes, it's essential to have, but some things that we have, we don't necessarily need. So, this just could get out of hand. Subscriptions. I mean, I could talk about it forever and forever, but we've got to be on the lookout for what's coming down in the future, because tariffs are, like I was talking about earlier, tariffs are hitting us hard. Apple is possibly facing a 54% tariff on China-made products. And so, what does that mean? China is the tariffs are going through the roof, and prices are going to be affected. They're going to change. The prices of the hardware, the prices of the software, the prices of the computer chips, they're all going to change. I'm telling you, like it's gonna go for the worse. It's gonna be for the worse. And right now, I believe it's rumored, and I heard this through a rumor, that what Apple is doing is they're trying to rev up, or they're trying to speed up the process of producing certain products before these tariffs hit, so they can have a massive backlog of products or of new hardware. If it's iPhones or computers, they can have that all in stock. So therefore, they don't have to pay the tariff tax to produce this product. But if this is not going to last long, because of course technology, it continues to grow exponentially, time over time, year over year, the technology changes, and if tariffs become a reality, which they are, in the past 2 weeks, that's what's been on the news. People have been protesting about it all over the country. They've been, up in arms about these tariffs. If this were to happen, then those products are going to become more expensive. And, who needs another monthly bill, right? Like, why must we have yet another monthly subscription bill? Like, how many is too many, right? How many? Let's count them. I mean, how many do you have? I probably have 5 to 6 different subscriptions already. Are you going to feel a certain way about renting your iPhone versus owning your iPhone? That's something you've got to really consider. Will you have an issue with having to pay for something monthly that, let's just be honest, you can't own outright? It's something that you're not going to be able to have in your possession. You're not going to be able to keep for yourself. You're going to have to, at the end of your contract, you're going to have to turn it over. And people specifically, and I can talk about the U.S. because this is where I live. You have people who own homes. You have people who rent homes. Now, I know for a fact, owning a home is much more of a perk than renting a home. And I'm not trying to get off subject here, but I'm trying to let you know that if you own something, at least you're paying towards it, right? At least your monthly mortgage is going towards that at least some of it's going towards the principal. Other amounts may be going towards your interest, but at least you're moving at a pace that eventually one day you will pay this off. Well, with the iPhone, if Apple decides to make it a subscription-based service, you'll always be paying for it, and you'll never be able to own it. Like that sounds absolutely crazy to me. And I don't want another bill that I have to continue to pay for, aside from like water bill, your utility bill, you've got gas bill, cable bill. And now we've added all of this we have a whole different set of subscription-based services. So I want you to be on the lookout for that, because it's coming, and it could possibly come even as early as September, y'all. I know you guys are like, everybody's looking for that iPhone 17 to drop, and you're like, you're thinking that, okay, this is something that I can pay. Now we know the prices are outrageous for the iPhone 17, right? They're going to be outrageous if they're not already outrageous. I'm not even sure what the prices are. They're probably as much as $1,700 to $2,000. And some of us, it may be easier for us to get on a subscription base because it's like, hey, this is something that you want you want the latest and greatest product. That's what Apple sells you, of course, because they sell you their marketing. Their marketing is what gets through to the consumer even before the product. You can hear iPhone and instantly you're thinking, okay, where is it? Is it being released? Where are we in the scope of? Will I be able to see this? Are we going to see a commercial on this? That marketing is just such an attention grabber. And then as consumers, we turn into a crowd of just hungry, just a hungry consumption of Apple products. And it just becomes, it's just it's a crazy chaotic mess. So I mean, it's this thing is going to be ever growing, and I'm going to be talking about it throughout the year and throughout the months. And so definitely stay tuned as to what's going on. What I want to do is I want to also let you know I'm going to provide in my description of this video. I have I've been working on this for a few months now, and I've just released a guidebook for all of you first time Apple users. If you are looking to purchase an Apple, a MacBook, an iPhone, an iPad, I have a guide to help you with your purchase. If you're looking online, if you're on Apple, the website, and you have some confusion about, well, what should I buy? How much RAM should I have? How much storage do I need? Because I know oftentimes what happens is we go on these websites, we go on Apple, we go to shop, even if it's on Amazon. Amazon, of course, sells Apple as well. Wherever you go to shop for Apple, it can be overwhelming, and you could be swayed in a direction that maybe you don't want to go. In other words, you may be purchasing a product or computer that is something that's not necessarily what you need. So this guidebook is going to help you. It's going to give you step-by-step directions. And I want you to, if you need help to get this guidebook, I'm going to provide it in the description, in the comments. And it's going to take you from being overwhelmed and confused about Apple products in general to being confident about what you're purchasing this for and what you're going to be able to use it for. So I want you to look out for that in the description of this video. And continue to stick with me. I appreciate you all. Again, thank you all so much. Continue to subscribe and like the video. Comment about this. Let me know what you think about this subscription-based service. Are we turning Apple into Netflix? I don't know. It's possible to happen, and it sounds crazy, but it is also very, very probable that we may be seeing something like this in the future. Thanks again for joining, and I'll talk to you soon.